Hello, everyone. Welcome to a session by TIBCO about our AnyData Hub powered by the TIBCO Unify pillar offering. Over the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about our position in the data unification market, as well as some of the key products and capabilities that are at the front of the table. So, overall, TIBCO is a company split into three key market positions: connect, unify, and predict. Connect talks to our capabilities around the ability of bringing systems together, service oriented architecture, integration, and some of the other elements around data flow around an organization. Unify, which is the key topic for today, is about how that data comes together and how to provide meaning around raw content, how bits and bytes become fields and attributes, and how fields and attributes become records and trusted information. And ultimately, we can also speak to predict a little bit about the analytics offerings. But today's session will be focusing on TIBCO Unify. Unify is a set of capabilities that really helps us bring a market blueprint to our customer. What that means is that a lot of our customers that are shopping for a data hub, whether it be a data lake or a virtualized view or master data, the idea around a data hub is an organization's journey towards creating a single point of data consumption, a single point of trusted data consumption and real time or on time data consumption. And within that, TIBCO Unify really brings four capabilities to the table. First is master data and reference data management. Our core EBX platform really helps organizations govern, protect, and manage key entities around an ecosystem: party master, product master, item masters are the most common domains that we can deploy as. But the idea is around a multi domain, multi vector master data management, reference data management platform. Alongside that, we also bring the ability to manage streaming data. So in today's world, around IoT sensors, high speed, low latency messaging, how do you bring data in flight in context of the rest of the data in the ecosystem and bring it and make it presentable to the data consumer, without worrying about what's data at rest, what's data in flight. Another key capability is around metadata management. Right? As an organization grows in terms of data complexity and data volume, how do you agree upon the intent, the rules, the SLAs, the meanings, and the semantics behind the master data? Like if I ask an organization to define what a party is or what a product is, will I get a consistent, repeatable, reliable answer that everybody can use to make their downstream decisions? And then ultimately, we can bring to table the capabilities of data virtualization. Right? How do we access all the data sitting across the ecosystem, and bring it to a single point of consumption? Master data, reference data, streaming data, metadata, but also data warehouse content, data lakes, any of the content that flows through an ecosystem, presented as one to the end consumer without having to worry about lift and shift and the movement of data just to get access to it from a single point of consumption. So, three key products that really are powering those four capabilities. TIBCO EBX is our master data management platform, and we're going to take a little bit of a look to that of that today. We're going to take a little bit of a look at that today. Um, the core capability around EBX is multi-domain and multi-vector master data. Now, multi-domain basically speaks to the capability of how do we create a platform that can support any data domain, user defined, where the domain model is not, you know, managed or stored or executed by the server, but more simply deployed to the server as a use case, which really does not restrict you in how you define your master data or how you define any of the domains within the ecosystem. Multi-vector for us talks to the capability of the multiple deployment patterns of the platform. Hosting in Azure allows you to really take advantage of some of the interaction patterns that organizations have with the master data hub, registry mode, consolidation mode, transactional mode, where all of these types of deployments of master data can coexist within the same instance to really give you a multi-domain, multi-vector um, platform, which allows you to really get to the use case and say, okay, this domain, I would like to create a consolidation pattern of master data management, but this domain that sits next to it, I'd like to create a registry pattern of master data management, which really addresses multiple capabilities, multiple use cases in an organization with a single platform. On the right, we have data virtualization, which really speaks to the ability of exposing all of the underlying data sources, formats, protocols, and technologies out to the user through a single point. Some of the use cases that come up around data virtualization is the logical data warehouse, where you take a DLS instance and you take a SQL table and you take various sources of content within an ecosystem, CRM systems, and expose it as one. And you also have the ability to create a virtual data layer and data as a service, which means that you could take any of these underlying sources and expose them not only as REST and as SOAP APIs, but you also have the ability to, sorry, not only as JDBC endpoints, but also as REST and SOAP APIs, which really bleeds into a microservices architecture where you can create a virtualized layer in a cloud exposed by APIs and create data as a service platform, regardless of where that data sits. So if you look at what MDM is at its core, right, the master data reference data management, low code implementation, the ability to manage hierarchies and lineage, what does it really enable, right? These are product capabilities, these are features, but what does it enable and what does it empower for the organization? You obviously can address multiple domains within the ecosystem, which gives you a wide variety of support for content management, record management, domain management. But you're also enabling now the analytics and reporting to make sure that the data that's consumed is trusted, reliable, and consistent. Right? If I do a select star from customer, for example, I'm always going to get the right answer, the latest answer, the current answer, regardless of who I am. It also enables enrichment in the virtualization layer. So you take data at rest, transaction information, high speed, low latency content, and you marry it with master data for enrichment, and you're always getting the current perspective of the customer or the product or whatever your primary domain is, because you're relying on the master data management platform to enrich your data in flight with current, clean, consistent data. And all of these really feed into the ability to support operations and trust in the ecosystem. That do I trust the content that I'm getting at, and can I get the content that I need to? The data virtualization layer at its core gives you an enterprise class performance um, built virtualization layer that also provides a single point of governance and security for the ability to access data. What does this enable? Right, this enables things like data quality. Right, how do you bring data together virtually and then put a data dashboard on top to understand the profile and the integrity of the content? How do you automate data access for, you know, commoditizing or democratizing streaming data across your ecosystem? How do you enable data science, right, to be able to consume from a single layer and make sure that the folks that are really making the forward-looking decision in the ecosystem have access to what they need to, and ultimately data as a service to expose all of the content in the ecosystem via microservices APIs and really weave into a larger architecture. Now, when you take the metadata capabilities of data virtualization and you combine them with the master data management capabilities of EBX, what you've done is you've created a capacity for metadata management, right? So leverage virtualization for the automated scraping and management and discovery of metadata, but then leverage EBX for the governance, the workflows, the adjudication around that metadata, and you've created a cloud-centric metadata management solution. So what does this ultimately add up to for an ecosystem? This eye chart of a graph basically represents the target state or the end state architecture for an AnyData Hub for an organization. On the left, you've got the sources, and on the right, you've got the consumers of data. Pretty standard data flow diagram. But the way it's laid out is really what's key, right? So all the sources on the left, whether they're static data, data in flight, um, RDBMS, Parquet files, ADLS, Gen 2s, all of that content basically gets consumed by a virtualization layer for one, metadata governance, and two, for data abstraction. And within the DV layer, what you have is the ability to connect and prep and transform, apply security and governance, um, create views, uh, and ultimately scaffold data delivery to the right hand side. Now, when you couple those with the ability to manage your master and reference data with EBX at the bottom, you basically have a input pattern for governance, adjudication, and accuracy. When you couple that with data science, right, you have the ability to create data models and understand data models and test data models with all of that data in flight. And ultimately, on the right, you're producing data for three key purposes, right? Analytics, operations, and compliance. And this layer gives you that safe consumption data unify layer, and ultimately leads an organization to their true AnyData Hub architecture. Let's take a look at what that looks like in flight with a very quick walkthrough demo, and we'll come back and wrap things up.
Hey, Kinchuk, is this the dashboard for that data scientist?
That's right. We are analyzing a mixture of different type of data, mastering data for patient, historical allergies data coming from data warehouse, the heart rate data, and the blood pressure data, which is coming from streaming media.
So there's all kinds of data we're looking at here, and we're kind of trying to get a good sense of what's happening for our patients. But I mean, surely, all these different data sources are coming from. You got probably multiple connections to Spotfire, right? And connect to all kinds of stuff, right?
Actually, not true. I mean, all this different information is actually coming from a single source over here, which is TIBCO data virtualization.
Is that where we're pulling any data for this particular Spotfire dashboard?
That's right.
Well, you know what? I got to take a look at this. So, Kinchuk, what am I looking at here?
What we are looking at is TIBCO data virtualization. So right now, we are connected to TIBCO EBX. What you are seeing on my right side pane is on top you see all the metadata, and on the bottom section you see all the data that's coming from TIBCO EBX.
So this is the patient information, correct?
These are all the patient master information, yes.
Well, where's all that streaming data coming? Where's all that data warehouse information? Are those just other physical sources? Is that what that is?
They are all different physical sources. Over here you can see all the historical data coming from the database. All the live data is coming from Streambase.
And I know that this is a demo, so I'm assuming all these are on-prem, but do they have to be on-prem? Could they be in the cloud? Could they be data services?
Definitely. I mean, TIBCO data virtualization have 250 plus connectors, including cloud, on-prem, different kind of SaaS services or REST API. It can do anything that is possible out there.
So, okay, so I got it, right? So I'm looking at the physical layers, I'm looking at on-prem, but they could be cloud. But I don't see how this data is coming together. How is that happening?
Well, all those magic happens over here in the business layer. And if I go and click on data lineage, let me make it a bit bigger. And you see, this is where all the combination is being done. We are joining different sources from different data from different sources, and then we are creating a single data point which is being fed to Spotfire.
Wow, that's really cool. That is really cool. So what I'm seeing here is I get on the physical layer, I bring all the different data sources that I want in, and then I combine them or federate them in the business layer. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Very nice. Well, I do have a question though. I mean, how did the data scientists know that EBX was the right place to get patient data? Is there a data catalog or something we can look at?
There is a data catalog. We call it TIBCO Cloud Metadata. Let me go and pull it up.
So Kinchuk, this is the MDM?
That's right, Conrad. This is our industry-leading multi-vector MDM solution. And what you are looking at is a EBX perspective. On my left-hand side is the perspective menu. You can maximize or minimize based on real estate if you want to work on. On your right-hand side is a data pane. On your left-hand side, the perspective menu is configured into different sections. You can definitely do a global search, as we saw in TCMD or the TIBCO Cloud metadata. You also have a governance section to go through all your workflows. Then there is a business glossary section over here. You also have a reference data section, followed by the master data section.
So I guess we're looking at the patient master data. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So on my right-hand side, what's open right now is the patient master data.
All right.
And you see here how they are color-coded as golden, 1 with some score.
Yeah. What does that mean? What do you mean by golden? Is that a unique record?
They are the unique record. So what happened over here is data consolidation took place, and the system identify all the golden record for you, and this is the list of all the golden record. So basically, behind the scene, the system has already found the deduplicate. So they found the duplicates. It ran the deduplication process and matched and merged and created the new golden record.
So that kind of hairy, kind of data lineage diagram that I saw in TIBCO Cloud Metadata that showed all those different sources coming together, this is really where that consolidation happened. Is that right?
This is really where the consolidation happened, yes.
So, but yeah, I have a question for you. But what if I need to do some kind of data cleansing before I started my mastering process? Where would that data quality happen?
That's typically what we do. Prior to mastering the data, we do all the data cleansing. And let me go and take you to Clarity, where we perform all the data cleansing activities.
So is this Clarity?
Yes, Conrad. So what we are looking at is Clarity. That's our data profiling and cleansing tool. We can definitely do data profiling and cleansing inside EBX, but typically prior taking the data to the mastering system, we clean it, standardize it, and we profile it, clean it, standardize it, and then we take the data within our master system. So what we do, like in this scenario over here, if you look, the first name they had digits over here, right?
Oh, that's not good. That
Yeah.
looks wrong.
Right. So using Clarity, what we did is we cleaned those data, like we cleaned the first name, we cleaned the last name, and when we pushed the data in, instead of taking the name that came from the source system, we took the clean name, clean first name and clean last name. Similarly, we did an address standardization, right? We used Google API for this scenario. There are multiple choices that you can select from, but we used Google API for address standardization, and we got missing information like latitude, longitude, along with standardized city, state, and zip code, and that's what we use in our mastering system.
So, Kinchik, this is like data quality solution. We can clean up that data before we load the MDM, right? So we're looking at source system data. That's pretty much what this is oriented for. Is that right?
That is pretty much what it does. It is standalone as well as on cloud solution. You can use it with EBX to clean and to enforce data quality and clean and give a standardized data to EBX. You can do the same for cleaning and providing standardized data to DV directly as well.
Oh, so I don't have to be limited just to master data. I mean, I could use this to clean up my sensor data. I could use this to clean up my historical data, right? If there's anomalies there, is that correct?
That is correct. Clarity actually
Oh, wow.
connectors too. I mean, it can connect from multiple connectors, multiple sources, then take the data in, clean them, standardize them, and then push the data out to multiple sources too.
That's pretty powerful.
Right. So what you just saw is the overall storyboard where TIBCO truly addresses the end-to-end data journey, right, from source to consumer of content, with the ability to create a trusted, reliable, consistent layer. And on the right, you'll see the AnyData Hub. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about how we position TIBCO Unify, and really help carry our customer towards their AnyData Hub architecture, leveraging the best of the cloud and leveraging the best of um, data flow and data storage up in Azure.